Hi, my name is Sarah Feldman, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to incorporate quotations into paragraphs. So, you're going to take away how to strengthen your argument using quotes, properly cite quotations, introduce and analyze quotes, as well as how to choose a quotation that best supports your argument. Why do we use quotes? The reason that we use quotes is to give our argument credibility. Without them, your argument might seem less formal or less able to be trusted. And that's what credibility means, to be able to be believed. Step 1 is to know your argument. Your argument can also be known as your thesis, which is the statement or theory to be proved, which is going to be your topic sentence in your paragraph. So in my paragraph, I want to prove that in The Cat in the Hat, the cat is trying to be a bad example on the children. So my topic sentence is going to be, or my thesis is going to be, for the majority of Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat, the cat tries to be a bad influence on the main characters. Step 2 is to pick your quote. It's really important that you pick a quote that supports your thesis, not just a random quote that you think is important to the book that really doesn't have anything to do with your argument. And it's okay if you can't find a quote and you need to go back and edit your thesis. It's a lot better that you do this than write a quote that then pick a quote that doesn't make sense and then end up having a paragraph that doesn't really support your thesis. So the quote that I picked is basically just the fish telling off the cat for making a mess. So, you sank our toy ship, sank it deep in the cake, you shook up our house, and you bent our new rake. You should not be here when our mother is not. An important tip is once you find your quote, make sure to write down the page number it's on. It's going to be really important that you write this down because you're going to need it in order to cite. And it's going to be a big pain if you don't write it down, because especially if you're using a longer chapter book that's hundreds of pages and doesn't have pictures, it's going to be hard to go back and find your quote. Step 3 is to introduce. Write a sentence providing context for your quote before putting in your paragraph. And context means the circumstances that form a setting or event. So basically, just provide background before giving your quote. And you don't really need to do too much, just enough that your quotation will make sense in the paragraph. And then here's this cute picture of a phone introducing itself to a tube saying iPhone YouTube. So this is my paragraph with the steps 1 and 2. I said, for the majority of Dr. Seuss's Cat in the Hat, the cat tries to be a bad influence on the characters. For example, when the fish tells him off in the middle of the book for causing such a mess. The highlighted part is where I'm introducing, and your introduction really shouldn't be longer than 2 sentences. It's easy to write an introduction that might be a little too long and end up summarizing the whole book up until the point of your quote, but that's really not necessary. And see how I used for example? It's a really great way to make your paragraph flow super well. Steps 3 and 4 are to cite your quote. The sentence with your quotation should look like this. So introduction, comma, your quote from the book, and then in parentheses, you're going to write the author's last name, spacebar, and the page number you found it on. And after that, you put your period. So what's important to remember is to add a comma before your quotation, and that your period comes after the parentheses. It shouldn't be coming here after the K in book or after the quotation mark. You don't put it until the end of your sentence. This is my example so far, so basically I accidentally put 2 quotation marks right there. So basically right after my introduction here, I added a comma, and then my quote right here, and I did not put a period at the end of my quote until after I cited it, saying Seuss 25, because that's the author's last name and the page number. This is a good visual about citing, except for where it says cited information, that's where you're going to give your quotation. Step 5 is your explanation, where you're going to explain how your quote relates to your thesis. Make sure that your explanation does not just restate your quote, which is just say the same thing as your quote, but except in a different way. Make sure that you use your quote as a tool to provide new analysis or explanation of the elements. Basically, you shouldn't also be just restating your thesis. You should be supporting it with new elements. And it should be at least a little longer than the quotation. It's also easy to get a quotation that's like 3 or 4 sentences long, but then if you only have 2 sentences of analysis, that really just doesn't make, that's just not ideal. This is my example so far. So after my quote, I said, "The fish understands that by making a mess, the cat's actions are irresponsible. The cat is being irresponsible because he is wrecking the house when the main character's mom is away. And by trying to get the kids to engage in this behavior, the cat is trying to be a bad influence on them." So as you can see, I'm using my quote, not just restating what it says, but explaining the significance of it and how it relates to my thesis. But at the same time, providing new information and a new perspective onto the quote. And an easy way to remember this is the ICE method. So the I stands for introduce, C cite, and E explain. You can remember it with Ice Ice Baby. You can remember with Ice Age. It's a really good way to just think, and a mental checkbox that you can do. You can say, did I introduce? Did I cite? Did I explain? And if you did all of those things, you're in pretty good shape. The next step is to finish your paragraph, and depending on what you're doing, you may need to add another example or two, another quote or two, maybe a non-quoted example, an analysis, and of course the conclusion sentence. Either way, I believe in you. You got this. You're going to do a great job. And finally, check that your work is cohesive, meaning that it comes together well and flows. In doing this, in checking your work, you're going to check that your quote and explanation support your topic, sentence, or thesis. They're not just randomly put in there about another aspect of the book. Check that you use the ICE method. This is probably the most important part, in my opinion, that you introduced, you cited, and you explained your quote, and that your citation is correct with the author and page number. If you still need some practice, here it is. All of these help with the ICE method. They help with incorporating quotes, and one of them I think is just how to do citations in text. Oh, this is just a little bit about me. That's my picture. My favorite subjects in school are English and history. I have a big sweet tooth. I like mint chocolate chip ice cream, or any ice cream in general. And I also play field hockey and stage manage the plays at my school. So thank you for watching. I really hope this was helpful. Have a great day.